Hi Scorpio, it's Veroosh. It's your friendly astrologer Veroosh, and I'm here to talk about Venus retrograde. And we're going to do astrology and tarot today. Venus retrograde actually ends tomorrow, so this is about the period about Venus retrograde, but kind of how it actually flows into direct motion. The retrograde began on December 19th and will continue till January 28th. But in my opinion, this is the interesting part. So what I'm going to do is do a collective reading, and then I'm doing individual readings for every sign. That includes a tarot reading and an astrology explanation. So it's your turn. My readings are for sun, moon, and rising, so not just for your rising sign. For some reason, there's a lot of people promoting rising sign only astrology. I think that's a bit of a misunderstanding, in my opinion. And your sun, in my opinion, is the strongest reading that you can get. Depending on your chart, for some people, other aspects are highlighted, such as the rising or the moon, but generally the sun. Okay, so what we're going to start off with is taking a look at the general situation around you. And by the way, it's really dark outside. It's almost 4 o'clock now, but it's been dark most of this afternoon. I live in a temperate rainforest, and so it gets really dark like this in the winter time. So I, tried to make it as bright as possible, but sorry if it's not very good light. Anyway, so we start off with the Lover's card, which is a nice card to get right at the beginning. Either you're feeling very connected with someone. For some of you, a Gemini person may be very important to you at this time. There's a harmony between yourself and others, or the people that matter to you most. You feel in sync. There's a lot of transits that are happening in your third house, including Venus retrograde. The Lovers is a card that also represents the brothers for Gemini, right? So Venus retrograde in the third house could represent a kind of rehashing of energy between yourself and your siblings or your cousins, which means that you could be, have had recently improved your relationship with your cousins or your siblings or other people around you, and you feel that sensation of having that improved. Okay, so the next two cards represent kind of your take on the current energies. This is the heart-shaped spread, which I used to do a lot here, and I'm going to explain it for those of you who are unfamiliar with it as we go along. So we have the Four of Wands next. I feel as though that the current situation is that you feel very comfortable, that you feel at peace with your surroundings. I feel like you feel great harmony with people that you care about. It's just a very nice time for you. And if you're watching this, because whenever we say, certain types of energies, and if you're going through something right now, make sure to watch for your other aspects, because that could be competing with this energy. The next message is the Temperance card, which is Sagittarian energy. And then we have the Empress, which is the feminine, Venus herself. This can represent Libra or Taurus. So I have the light turned up on my camera so much that it's washing it out. Sorry about that. But I have a feeling that there is very good intention around you. If your mother is involved in your life in some way, there's a very close-knit bond. It feels as though that if this is regarding a relationship for you, the other person is coming closer to you with some kind of nurture, some kind of positive energy. Somebody's trying to give something to you and, help you out or give you some value, put value into your life or make it better. So it's a very harmonious time for you at this time. If you're single, if you don't have siblings, all these kinds of nuances. The general world around you is very sympathetic at this time. When I mean sympathetic, I mean they're just willing, the people around you are just willing to give, and you're in harmony with them. So there's a feeling of togetherness, of understanding, of just really a nice energy. So let's talk about the astrology now. This is going to gloss over the astrology. As I mentioned, I am going to do a dedicated reading to explain the transits in detail. I was going to put it out today, but it's not ready yet, so I'll work on that. There's also a members only video that I'm going to put together for this video. It's not going to be an extended for this. It's going to be a video for the spring, but it's going to be a preview, which means that members will get to see it first, and in the spring I'll release it for everybody else. So if you are a member, that video is coming. I was going to put them out right away, but just lots of work, and so I'll be putting them out as I get to them. They're on a priority list, so I'll get to that soon. I also want to mention my private readings are still by link, so the website's still not up. My website's down on my priority list, so as other things come up, it gets backtracked. So if you want a reading with me, then just please go into the description and you'll be able to get that. And I have short form videos, which means videos that are 1 minute or shorter, available on Tarot Talk. They may be on this channel soon, because I think I'm going to put them on this channel. But for now, if you want to watch short form astrology videos, then go to Tarot Talk. It's linked in the description. So just little blasts of information or little fun things I put together. Okay, so let's talk about your astrology and what this kind of retrograde season is all about. So we're looking at the chart of tomorrow, of the 28th. So we see Venus station already. So she went from about 26, 25 degrees of Capricorn to about 11 degrees of Capricorn between December and now. And so you may have already improved upon relationships. What I feel for you is that your relationships with people around you have gotten closer. So that means a more heart-centered connectedness. There's whatever was unresolved has been resolved now. And there's a sense of togetherness with those who are closest to you. And because it's the third house, I would assume it's siblings, cousins, your family, that kind of energy. So the third house represents siblings in our lives. And I think that you probably are quite content at this time. Again, if you're going through something, please don't let this be triggering for you. There's other transits involved, or if something's happened in your life, I wish that you figure it out, but relatively it looks as though it's a positive time for Scorpios, and it looks like the people around them are edging towards giving them something kind, giving them something from their heart. So it's an improving situation in relationships, one that you should be feeling really good about. So I'm glossing over the transits, as I said, and so let me just tell you what's going to happen now. So the big thing is that Venus is going to be on a trine to Uranus. So, and because she's stationed in this position, she won't move very fast for the next several days. So as Venus retrogrades, which is just optical, right? She doesn't actually go back. She slows down and then optically starts to move forward again. But that period between moving back optically and moving direct is quite long. Otherwise, Venus moves very quickly through a sign. So it's kind of like making a U-turn. To make a U-turn, you have to slow down. So we have Venus kind of doing that in this position. And because it's at 11 degrees of Capricorn, it's on a direct trine to Taurus, which is in your 7th house of partnership. So you have this very strong energy of Venus going direct, having completed whatever needed to be done in terms of relationships, and that aspecting your partnership house. And Uranus in the 7th house is a pretty great transit. It represents kind of an unveiling of new opportunities and being open to new types of people to let in for partnership in your life. If this is if this is in regard to a relationship you already have, you and your partner may find, new ways of working on your relationship, new ways of resolving things, finding new things to be interested about in each other and together. So overall, Uranus in the 7th house is a nice transit. But now that it's trining Venus in your third house in communication, I would just feel like the next several days until about February 7th, you're getting a little bit of a renaissance. You're getting the opportunity to kind of try things a different way. People around you, specifically people who are your partners or love interests, are more flexible. So agreement is easily found. So there's just some really good energy here that might provoke relationships in a good direction. So you feel good, they feel good around you, and good things happen. So it's very nice. The second set of transits is a sequence that Venus will go through between now and about March 5th. So there's a lot of transits in Capricorn. This weekend on the 29th through the 31st, you can see the moon will enter Capricorn and go through this entire position. So there will be 7 transits, including the moon in Capricorn this weekend. This will set a lot of different things off. It's an activation point. It doesn't necessarily mean that something will happen, but if you've been seeing my Capricorn short form videos or you've seen my Twitter or something, then you know that things are going to happen in the world one way or another. And this is when we have extreme transits, it's important to just remind ourselves that these are like possibilities. They're not guarantees. That's why I think that certain types of astrology are problematic, because astrology is like a old school tool of interpreting energy, and it works, but you can't like guarantee it. They're not guarantees. It just increases the likelihood of certain events happening. So with moon and Capricorn, I just want to remind you that, so you're not worried that something will happen. You know, some of the things that could happen is like volcanic activity, seismic activity, earthquakes, but not necessarily so. Also, what could happen for you personally is that people could be agitated and be more assertive, be more aggressive, and that can lead to conflict. But on the positive side, with moon and Capricorn, you can take the next step. You can be bold. You can start a new relationship. Especially if you're timid, this is a really good transit for you to get things accomplished and put yourself out there. So it's a good transit depending on how you work it, but it is Capricorn energy and it is really tough. So, if you want to know more, then let me know somehow, but maybe follow me on Twitter. I throw out a lot of information on Twitter and like little blasts. So if you're interested in that, that's probably the best way to do that. And you can ask me questions there directly too. Anyway, so the moon will be in Capricorn this weekend. The moon will also be in Capricorn at the end of February. That will be another transit in which it will activate Venus and Mars. So if things happen, they may happen on those 2 days. It's a series of 2.5 days. So we have a lot to look forward to. Beyond that, Venus and Mars are forming a conjunction. That conjunction is starting on February 4th and will carry on to exact on February 16th. So that means that they're moving together and they're significantly close by the 4th, and they'll be exactly the same position by February 16th. Then they'll transit through the rest of the sign, and as they do, they will make aspects to Pluto, and I don't think they'll make an aspect to Juno, but they will move out of Capricorn together at 0 degrees of Aquarius on March 5th. So they're going to go through a series of conjunctions and aspects, and those aspects are going to activate energies. And for our personal lives, that will provoke things to happen. That will provoke things to initiate. Capricorn is a cardinal sign, so it's going to really make things happen in our lives. So whatever is going on in your life, Scorpio, whether you're a sun, moon, or rising, things are it's like the domino effect, if you play dominoes, you just push one and then they all fall over. So it's a very much energy like this. And I want to stress to you that it can be for good and it can be for bad. So it depends on the situation you're in. So if you're in a good situation, go for it. If you're in a tenuous situation, then go slow and be careful of people with whom you have conflict with, because that can push things in a negative direction. But I do feel that on March 5th, when Mars and Venus enters into your 4th house, there is going to be a big resolution for all of us. So that's something to look forward to. So it's kind of like a workout. You have to do the hard workout, which is happening now, so that you can have the nice outcome. So that's what's coming. So that's it in terms of the overview, in terms of Venus retrograde. There's some other things to talk about, but I'll talk about it in the collective. But just know it's a good transit, provided you appreciate it well, and it's definitely not a passive transit, which means it's not a transit to be bashful on, and it's not a transit that lends itself well to people who want to avoid things. And definitely if there's conflict, be very wary of who you're interacting with, especially if you're in conflict with someone, because that can very aggravate things. But I want to say this as a caveat, and I'll repeat this in the main video, is that especially, like, I'm not trying to be too political, but it seems like in Eastern Europe, things are getting better, like they're having conversations. So sometimes this is how this transit works. Venus retrograde, it pushes them, even in circumstances where there's a real political gridlock, it pushes these intense imperial countries to resolve their differences, because I don't think either side really wants an armed conflict, right? And that's also very Capricorn military energy, right? Okay, so we'll talk about that more in the general, so come back for that. But let's take a look at your tarot. So on this side, what we're talking about is what's kind of coming up next for you. We have the Hermit, which is Virgo energy. So it looks like a pullback. It looks like you're pulling back from situations. I feel like the energy around you, the people and the circumstances, are slow to come. The Sagittarian Temperance card. It's moving forward, but it's taking its time for some reason. And so I feel as though there will be some time alone to reflect and to wait and to figure things out. Maybe something is calling the other people in your life away from you, such as work or other responsibilities. But I do see that in the short term, you are going to have some time alone to think. Also, for some of you, a Virgo high will be important. I'm a Virgo, so I always laugh because I love Scorpios, but a Virgo may be important for you at this time as well. Okay, so let's take a look at your outside energy. So outside of you is the Eight of Cups. Now, I'll make an observation here, but don't be distressed or upset by it, but this may help some people. This to me, Five of Cups, appears as though somebody is coming at a frequency towards you emotionally in a more subtle way than maybe you're expecting or that you're ready for. And so it feels as though everybody has their own way to approach a relationship. Some people are like in your face and really intense, and some people are very soft and slow. And so I feel like you're having a miscommunication, possibly some of you maybe, with a person around you who's simply communicating differently than you are in terms of coming closer, forming a relationship. And so you may feel as though the love's not showing up for you, while they may feel rejected while they're trying to connect with you in a subtle way, but they feel like you're not accepting their interest, right? Okay, so let's take a look at some advice cards. The next two cards are here, and they're sort of like advice or a further clarifier, right? So we have the Two of, there's definitely something you're not seeing in a situation, and then we have the Four of Cups. It really feels like people are trying to come together and work things out, but I think they come from two different places, whether it's mentally or emotionally or just like in terms of like culturally, maybe even different. And it feels as though there's a disconnect where one person doesn't necessarily understand where the other person is coming from. So we have this person who feels like there's not enough information, maybe in their culture or in the way that they do things. It's more upfront, and maybe this is your side or maybe this is theirs. So I don't know, you kind of know better than I do, but hopefully this is a confirmation that there's some degree of progress, but yet the way about it is awkward, or the way about it is producing a subtler situation than I think people are intending. So I think the hearts are together. I think the hearts are really, nice for each other. However, I feel like in the way that things are being done, maybe you feel how do you say? Maybe you feel like, what's the word? Maybe you feel like abandoned in some way, emotionally abandoned, or you don't understand, like you don't feel like you're getting the type of response that you're used to. Maybe. And then when you do get something from the other person or from the world, it's not enough. Now, if you're single and there's no one around, you may be feeling as this could be a sign that there's people around you who are showing interest in you, but you're just not seeing it. Or maybe they're not the right people for you. So you're in that process of seeking, but you may be finding that the attention that you're receiving, or the types of sources of that attention, there's something off about them, and you're still figuring it out. Let's see some advice about the outside world, like what's happening around you. So this is a clarifier on the Five of Cups. So the outside world feels unheard, in my opinion. So like unheard, not recognized. It feels as though it's trying to make a connection, but for whatever reason, there's a disconnect there. So and they may have a tendency towards something like depression or pessimism. Maybe they have a lot of like hurt feelings or jadedness that they're coming into the situation with. And then we have Justice, which is Libra. So communication is very, very important. Maybe for some of you, a Libra is going to be very important at this time. And then we have the Fool, which is a new beginning. I think somebody needs to commit to a new beginning or a new path, a new direction. This is ruled by Uranus, which is the 7th house. Scorpio, at this time, you should really welcome in the unexpected. Figure out the other way in, figure out something else, figure out a different way to do it. Those are going to be your strengths for the next several years in resolving relationships. And because the North Node is in your 7th house, look at this. It's a very nice position for you. You're very focused on who's coming in and how. And if in the current situation, this is a casual relationship that we're looking at here for you, and if it's not working, I would still push. I feel as though the things that will work will be intuitively strong for you. So if you're sitting there scratching your head, does he like me? Does she like me? Does she not? Whatever you're trying to figure out and not really getting, that's really a sign. It may not be about feelings. It may be about something else. And so don't split hairs. And I'm a Virgo, I'm telling you, because that's what Scorpios get from Virgos, because we bring it to the practical level. So just remind you that if you're sitting there unsure about a situation, it doesn't mean that you're being emotionally rejected. There may be something else that's not working, and so it may not be such a personal thing at the end of the day. Okay, so let's see the outcome. So communication is necessary. And if you're dealing with someone who is sort of pulling away, if you're dealing with someone who seems interested and then seems, distant, they might show up as distant, try to have a conversation with them. And this weekend, especially the 29th through the 31st, provided there's no animosity in a situation, this is a really good time to be bold and to communicate. I want to remind you that the 3rd house is also the house of communication. So for you, communication might be the goal, just take a risk, and I see you, look at this, they're looking in different directions. And I think they're both caught up in their feelings. And I think that's, if that's the situation that you're in, you may want to be more proactive to see. Okay, look at the outcome, though. You have the Sun. This is the nicest outcome you could get. So this is so this is joined and this is joined. So the outcome of the situation is here. And so there's a blessing coming your way. Like I was saying with Uranus, If it's not working, don't spend your time mulling over and splitting hairs, because the outcome is good and it's going to be very self-assured and strong. It's not going to be full of doubt and uncertainty. Okay? Thank you guys so much for watching. When the members only video is ready, there's like a spot in the description that I'll put the link. So wait for that, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, Scorpio. Have a nice day. Bye.